Welcome and hello. This is a video tutorial in HEC-RAS, and in this lesson, I'm going to be discussing the Model Comparison Tool. I have the webpage here for Model Comparison Tool in the HEC-RAS User's Manual up on my screen right now, and I'll leave a link to this page in the description if you're interested in reading the entire page. All right, but what I'm going to provide here is a quick summary of what this feature entails. And what it is I've got my HEC-RAS up right here. The model comparison tool is going to be in Files and then go to Compare Model Data right here. And then up comes the model comparison dialog. Before we get into these details, I kind of wanted to just show you what I have working in my project. And it looks like I have to, hold on a second. No, close. Okay, well, it looks like there's some bugs, which reminds me this is a fairly new feature and it came out in version 6.5 and I'm running on HEC-RAS 6.6. The model comparison tool in HEC-RAS is used to compare data between different geometry files and different plan files. And of course, those plan files are associated with a geometry file, a flow file, and perhaps some other files like results and terrain. All right, so what I have here is a simple river reach. My geometry files, I have 3 of them already saved. So if I click open, you can see I have a 1% slope, 2% slope, and 3% slope file. In the geometry, that's the only difference between the 3 files. And if I click on unsteady flow data, edit, right here, I have 3 different unsteady flow files. So open unsteady flow data. They are all 3 of the unsteady flow data files are associated with my slope of 1%, that geometry file. And then it also has a range of different flow rates. So that's just how I happen to title the file. I ran those simulations and now I have results saved as well. The focus of the model comparison tools are for unsteady flow, not for steady state flow. Okay, let's go back to that tool now. So we're going to go up to File and then Compare Model Data. Okay, it did not come up for me. Seems like I have to close my project and open it back up every time I want to open up this Compare Model Data feature. Yeah, it's not coming up. I've opened up HEC-RAS and opened up my project once again. So let's see if this works. I'll go File, Compare Model Data. All right, good. It came up. All right, what you're seeing here in this interface is a few things. We've got a couple menu items for file and tools at the top. We have tabs for project, flow, plan, geometry, and results. And then in the main interface here, we have what we're seeing on the default project tab because this is the first tab selected. What I have is my project right here. It's called Lesson 46. And then after that, it has the unit system. What you're seeing here are the different files associated with this project. So for instance, I have 3 geometry files, 3 flow files, and then 3 plan files as well. I don't have any terrain files, but that's listed over here, as well as a few other optional categories here like land cover, infiltration, sediment bed, and porosity. So I can check these on or off, and then that will add or remove that column from the table. If I have multiple files, multiple project files I want it listed, I can just go up to File, Add a Project, navigate to that project, and then I would also see that project listed in this view right here. I can expand or collapse the project if I have a number of different projects and I want to only see the projects I'm interested in. And then I can also remove projects by clicking on this red X button. And I can add it back in just by clicking on that. If I click on a single file here, like the geometry file, it's highlighted. And if I click on a plan result, it's going to highlight all the files associated with that particular plan. So if I click on the next plan down, for instance, it's associated with a different flow file, but the same geometry file. Hence, you can see the lines that sort of connect these files together to indicate their association. I'm going to now double click on this first plan here. And when I do, it adds a new tab for that particular plan/result file up at the top. I could do the same thing by doing a right click and add to list. Now what you're seeing here is 2 different plan/result files that I've indicated I want to view the difference of. The user's manual mentions that if these files are different colors like blue and orange, then there are differences in them. But if the files were both gray in color, that means they are identical. And you'll see that theme occurring over and over where the differences are highlighted or a different color. If I want to change the label here, or called an alias, I can also go right click, change alias. Or if I wanted to change the color, right click, change color. So that's how to change the color. This is how to change the alias. The ability to change the color and the alias of these tabs is also available in the Tools menu for file aliases, as well as the color palettes. Now, the color palettes here show the no difference is gray and the difference is black. You can also change those preferences as well. You probably also notice these radio buttons at the top. The default is differences, which means that this model comparison tool is going to highlight the differences, and then all would just display all the model results. But I'm going to go ahead and keep it on differences. So that's all I have to say about the project tab here. Now that we have two different plan files selected, I'll click on the flow tab. The flow tab provides a spatial view of the locations and a table of the pertinent flow hydrograph information. So the spatial view is what we would see on top, and then down below here is the data view. Now, I don't happen to have any 2D flow or RAS mapper terrain files loaded for this particular project. So what I'm going to do is bring up a few examples from the user's manual. This is what the user's manual has. So if I click on the image, you can see that it's got terrain data up here, and then it's got some table data down below where the differences are highlighted in black. So if you click on any element from the map or the table, it'll highlight in the map and the table at the same time. For the two plans that I have selected, I'm seeing them down here in the table, and they do indeed have some different data, like the minimum flow, the maximum flow, the time to peak flow, and the volume. There's also a button here for the graph. So let's see if I click this, something happens. Cool. So this looks like the time series comparison of the flow rates. And in the past, I've always gone to DSS View and pulled up a similar image like this, but it's nice to have this kind of model comparison built into HEC-RAS. All right, the next tab over is the Plan tab. And as you're seeing, we have a breakdown. This is sort of a tabular view of some of the data that's associated with each of the two plans, such as the plan title, plan name, file name, short ID, file title, and file name for both the plan data and the flow data. There's also a separate menu on this left panel for this is plan information. I also saw one for plan parameters. Of course, now that I'm recording, I can't bring it up. Let me go ahead and bring up the user's manual. All right, so here's an example for plan parameters. And what you're going to see here is that, well, this is a particularly wide image, but what you're seeing is some parameter data right here, such as theta, 1D flow information, 1D, 2D flow parameter data. And then this blue column here is the first plan. And then if I scroll over, here's the second plan. And what it's doing is it's highlighting in black and bold text right here the differences between the two plans and any differences in the parameter values. These parameter values that it's referring to, let me go back to my HEC-RAS, are going to be like if you go to the unsteady flow analysis options, computation options and tolerances, these are where some of those variables show up, such as theta, theta warm-up, same thing for 2D flow, as well as some of these numbers, a number of 1D, 2D flow options, and so on. Okay. The next tab over is for geometry. And the first thing you need to do when you click on this tab right here is to compute geometry differences. So I'll click that. And I'm not seeing any geometry differences. That's really unfortunate because I really do have changes in channel slope. For results, click on compute hydrograph differences. Let me guess. Oh, there are some results here. Okay. So cross-section data. Now let me go back to geometry first and just show you what's in the user's manual. All right, go ahead and click geometry differences. Then what they have is a number of different types of geometry in the left panel, whether it's cross sections, storage area, bridges and culverts, or whatever. So go ahead and make that first initial selection. And then in the main part of the page, what you're going to see is at the top, there's going to be a comparison between total features, unique features, and modified features for the two different plans. And then down below is where you're going to have those differences highlighted. So right here, there's a differences tab, and then it shows, for instance, the selected feature is the left overbank, left channel, and right overbank distances are highlighted because these are different, but the river station and the reach and the river name are gray and hard to read because they're all the same. So that's what this whole page is about, is to highlight the differences between different plan data and geometry data. If you happen to have a RAS mapper terrain file uploaded in part of your model, you would have that image up above, and then you would have the data down below in a table. So it looks like right now there's two different plans being compared, and then the cross sections are being selected over here in the left panel. So that's why we're seeing the different cross section data shown here in the bottom table. Okay, I've exited out of this table, and if I click on the next table down, this demonstrates how when you click on a specific element, either in the map or in the table, it'll highlight both. And it's not really zooming in. This must just be saved as a smaller image. The last image here is if you do find a difference, there's a little table icon, and it's too hard to see probably from this view, but towards the far right column, if you want to click on this table icon, it'll bring up some additional table details over to the right side. Okay, back to my example here. The results tab is the last one we're going to look at. I've already went ahead and clicked to compute the results. And the results I have access to are the only ones that I've included in my plan. That's the cross-section data right here, where I see minimum stage, maximum stage, time to max stage, let's see, max and min flow, and a few other parameters there. All the values here you're seeing are in black bold text because they're all different. And what I like the most is this button right here. It's a little hydrograph image. It says data for the column header. And when you click on it, it brings up your stage and flow hydrograph, just like you were looking at the results from within HEC-RAS. But the great thing about this is it's comparing two different plans automatically. You don't have to go out of your way and go ahead and change the plans, but I guess you could do that as well. All right, well, that was it for this lesson. We talked about how to compare models using this model comparison tool in HEC-RAS, which is accessed by going to the File menu and then Compare Model Data.